What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Matty P, Shannon White here for the Steelers Global Perspective. It's episode 2. It is so good to have you here, Shannon. Now, we're recording this a couple hours out from Steelers versus Patriots, Thursday night football. No Pickett, Trubisky's in, no Ciamalo, probably Herbig in. We're going to talk about all those injuries and more. But Shannon, how are you doing on this fine Thursday afternoon?
I'm doing awesome. It's beautiful here. It's sunny and bright, and it gives you just hope and optimism that I'm afraid is going to be sucked away from me tonight when that Bill Belichick-led defense catches up with our offense. But I've got hope right now.
It's very much one of those ones out there that's like their head knows what's going to happen, but the heart believes the complete opposite, right?
Exactly.
Like, that's how it is.
Exactly.
And look, we got to have a bit more faith in our Steelers and that on Thursday Night Football at home, color rush. But I mean, even the color rush thing, like I am one of the few people that can say, like, I was there in the first color rush loss against the Bills, where I watched Duck Hodges, throw the football. Yeah. So, you're a Steelers fan from the other side of the world. You pay thousands of dollars to make it over to the other side of the world, watch the Steelers, and you watch Devlin Duck in color rush lose to the Bills on Sunday night. Like, it's one of those things. I always talk about it. It's hilarious, but I kind of feel like you're in this parallel this week. We've seen certainly a lot of it's been interesting even in the Australian media this week to see, in the small parts to cover the NFL to hear, the low betting lines and betting predictions. Yeah. And I heard one of my friends contacted me, and we call parlays over here multis, right? That's what we call it, where you do a multi-bet. And one of my mates texted me and said, Matt, like, how do I do this multi? Like, I want to have the Steelers in there, but like, it's going to completely stuff it up because it looks like the Patriots is going to beat them and it's a low margin and all those sorts of things. So pretty crazy. But before Shannon and I crack into it, we will just quickly go through the injury report. As we mentioned, obviously Pickett out. Everyone knows about that. James Pierre is out as well. Which is fine by me. I'm not the biggest James Pierre fan. Elandon Roberts, I haven't heard anything so far. They haven't listed on the report as questionable. Shannon, did you hear anything in your day in the US on Elandon Roberts?
No, they said that, as I said earlier, Samalu's out, but they said that the rest of these guys are going to be game time decisions.
Well, we'll find out. Maybe by the time our show goes through it, we'll find out there. But Benton looks all right, even though he's limited. Same with Hayward. Same with Adams, should be fully good to go. Tomlin said that in the press conference. Mason Cole is questionable.
I did hear he's playing.
Yeah, so I was going to say, like, plus who steps in for him? That's a big question. It had Najee as questionable. I don't see Najee not playing, not with Warren. Even if Najee's not that right to go, they'll just have them both there to stuff with, to play games with Belichick, and then Jaylen Warren will run the football.
One of the guys that I follow on Twitter, he said last night late that he had talked to Harris, and Harris said he was going to play.
Yeah, I can't imagine Harris missing this one. Actually, and we'll talk about him a little bit later because I found his press conference the other day. His interview is a bit interesting. On the Patriots side of things, Kayshon Boutte, their wide receiver, Damari Douglas, their wide receiver, Ramondre Stevenson, their running back, who's a pocket rocket, and Sean Wade, the cornerback, are all out of the game. The other player that's out is Riley Reif, their offensive tackle, their starter. And Juju Smith-Schuster is questionable there. I reckon he'll play. Same as Devontae Parker, same as Trent Brown, and same as Christian Barmore, who our old colleague Gregory Benedict is very, 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 very high on with Christian Barmore. But yeah, I mean, other than the names that sort of talked about, injury report pretty stock standard. If Mason Cole. Let's say Mason Cole, regardless of whether he, let's say, he plays, he's good, he's right to go. I mean, he had an awful week last week. There's no other way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
I have massive concerns even about a questionably fit Mason Cole against the Patriots defense.
Yeah, I don't understand what's happening, if it's something in the water in Pittsburgh, but guys that, Pouncey his last 2 years struggled to snap the ball. And it's just, I don't know if it's just they need to practice it more. If it's all these where they were, started doing all the pistol formations and, different snap depths and everything, trying to help Ben as he lost mobility. But now that's not an issue, but they still struggle to snap the ball. And I don't know, with Cole, a lot of his fundamentals and technique have deteriorated this year. I don't know if it's just the pressure. This was his year to solidify that position.
Yeah.
And he could have been maybe a long-term starter there. And now we all agree that the Steelers need to look for an answer. I mean, he still has value as a backup, but I think the days of thinking he can be the long-term starter are over.
Yeah, I think there's a massive discussion to be had here around when it comes to Mason Cole. I think for him to, I think he had hitched his wagon very much to the I have good chemistry. And this is the interesting part with Kenny Pickett being out that I want to talk about. But I think he'd hitched his wagon to I'm really working well with Kenny Pickett, and Kenny likes me and I'm comfortable with Kenny. Like, if you go back and listen to any interview he did during the OTAs or the training camp, it was all about Pickett. Like, and you saw the same thing with Trubisky. It was like he hung his hat on Pickett. So it's funny with everyone questioning Pickett's role in the organization, Pickett's future, even though he's out of this game, today with the ankle surgery. He's got influence in that room. He's got influence in that front office, because the reality is that everyone around them is hitching their wagon to Pickett, right? And that can't just be that he was drafted number 20 overall, his first round draft pick. It's got to come down to what people are seeing behind the scenes as well. We heard a lot about his leadership down the stretch last year as well, where veterans bought into that. That's no mean feat when with this type of veterans the Steelers had on the roster and still have on the roster. Now, the Patriots have a much vaunted defense. That's something that everyone will talk about. And so I guess in tonight's game, we could sit here and talk about a billion things we'd love to see from the offense. I think any Steeler fan out there, even the most positive fan, like your expectations are tempered when it comes to the offense. Definitely. But what is the minimum that this offense needs to do to score enough points on this vaunted Patriots defense to win the game?
Well, Mitch Trubisky has come out and he's like, he wants to sling it this week. He thinks that's something that's been missing from the offense, and he wants to be aggressive, he says. The problem is Belichick, especially telling Belichick that, he's a master at taking away what you do best. So they will focus first and foremost on shutting the running game down.
Yeah.
And they've done that to everybody.
Yeah.
You just don't run the ball on them, especially if you're one-dimensional, and the Steelers are. So then he will bait you, Belichick will, into throwing into coverage, because he'll give you one look and he changes it up really at the last minute.
Especially with those two safeties.
Oh, yeah. If you look at the Patriots defense through their run, and even this year of excellence, he gets guys like Van Noy, and he gets guys like McGinnis, and he gets – not all these guys are stars, but they're all really have high football IQs and can make adjustments in game fluidly. Yeah. And because he switches up so much and he changes, and if you start out at the beginning of the game having success, he'll immediately change to take that away, because he makes you adjust and beat him doing whatever he won't let you beat him with your strength. He's going to make you beat him with something that, you wasn't necessarily planning on. When the Steelers struggle, they'll say, we wasn't expecting that this week. How many times have we heard that this year? So that really concerns me going up against Belichick.
Yeah.
Because he will make adjustments at any time. And he gets defenders capable of doing that. See, not every defender can make those adjustments.
No.
Without making, having breakdowns. Well, the Patriots get guys who can. And so while the offense is bad, their defense is very, very good this year.
Yeah, it's a massive concern. I mean, the only positive there is that, and I can't believe we keep harping back to him, is not having Matt Canada, or at least there'll be some level of creative nature of plays, and at least Sullivan has called plays. I'm pretty sure it's called plays a couple of times against Belichick when I went back and looked at it. So I think that's a positive there. It was interesting when we just went through the injury report and we talked about Najee Harris. You kind of wonder if this is a game where, like, do you give Anthony McFarland like 5 carries just to do something completely different? Like, how are you working Calvin Austin into that run game as well? Like, I wonder if, like, it's what you said there is like winning, and I would liken it to winning in unconventional ways.
Yeah.
I just think, there's something that frustrated me all year, and I've talked about it probably on every second show on this channel, which is there's the photo of Calvin Austin at like 5'0" and barely 170 pounds, standing next to Darnell Washington, who's like 6'7" and somewhere between 270 and 290, depending on who you believe. When you've got that difference and that in skill set, in size, how you can't make an opposition defense weep week in, week out is something I can't fathom. And like, if you're going to turn it on, like, I feel like this is the game you got to turn that sort of stuff on.
Yeah, they have all the components to be creative. They just didn't have the mind in the offensive coordinator position to design the plays.
Yeah.
The play calling and the sequencing was ridiculous. Nothing set up. Your best offensive coordinators, they make you reveal your hand. Maybe the play was not successful, but they say, okay, this is how they're going to defend that formation with this personnel. And then they change it up, and they'll attack you in a different way and see if you adjust. This week, as you said, the Steelers are going to have to do things uncharacteristic. If they get into the predictable and the habitual, they're going to get shut out.
Yeah.
They're going to have to, like you said, if it's McFarland. We've seen in training camp and in the preseason, McFarland was very effective catching him swing passes out of the backfield.
Yeah.
Getting matched up with the linebacker. Well, we haven't done it all year. If you bring that out, you might hit a big play. If you utilize, say, instead of Freiermuth, Washington down the middle or up the seam, you might hit a big play because the Steelers haven't utilized that. There's so many plays and capabilities. Calvin Austin's another one. Hit him on a crosser. Yeah. Get him the ball in space, and he's so fast and elusive. But they haven't utilized these guys. Tonight would be a great opportunity.
I'd love it. I'd love to see it. When we look at, I think, we talked there about Cole. We talked about Samalu being out, which to me is a bit of definitely a concern. Depending on who you talk about.
Well.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some stuff that, a question, but then again, it's like, well, who else is the problem when it's Cole and Dan Moore next to him? When you stack these line, so I want to talk about Steelers O-line versus Patriots D-line, and then I want to flip it and talk about Steelers D-line versus Patriots O-line, because while we've talked about how good the Steelers defense is, the Patriots defense is, the Steelers defense is, is out there, pretty good as well, and the Patriots offense is no better than the Steelers offense, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why the score line is going to be pretty limited if the betting markets are correct. So Steelers O-line versus Patriots D-line. How wide a gap in there, or is there an overmatch in the Patriots' favor?
Well, you mentioned the big defensive tackle. Is it Barmore?
Yeah, Christian Barmore.
He is a very powerful run stopper, but he can collapse the pocket. And with Samalu out and Cole at less than 100%, even if he does play, that could be a problem. I believe that the Steelers can handle the edge guys for the Patriots. Now, we know Belichick will throw in a crazy blitz or a stunt in the middle. and they're really going to have to work on picking that up. But that would be my biggest concern is Smallow's replacement at Cole going up against a couple of the Patriots' big tackles.
On the flip side, what about the Steelers' D-line against the Patriots' O-line?
Well, I mean, the Patriots' O-line has not been the reason that their offense has been so bad.
True.
They're about middle of the pack. They're kind of like Steelers that they can run block better than they pass block. Hayward is not Hayward. I mean, he come back from the injury and the surgery, but that was a major injury, and in recovery for a man his age. So we're seeing him hold up well against the run, but he's really not the same pass rusher.
Yeah.
Keanu Benton has been just a revelation. The kid has to get more snaps because if you look at his effectiveness versus Ogunjobi, who is, he's been out there, he's been healthier this year, but his effectiveness hasn't been as good as it was last year.
That's because he got paid.
Could be, and then guys like Loudermilk and Leal, I mean, they're hardly getting snaps, and so I don't think the Steelers have a real advantage along that defensive line because I'm considering that kind of a stalemate because the Patriots line is at least average.
So it sounds like it's going to be a big game for Highsmith and Watt if we're going to win this one, right?
It has to be. But we also got to remember they have to play Herbig and Golden.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Herbig in his short amount of opportunities,
I talked
very small window, he's producing crazy results. Even if it's just pass rush win rate. He's getting pressure,
He could realistically finish the season with 5 sacks. And that would be huge for a guy that's going to have played less than 30% of snaps, probably like 28% of the snaps. That's huge. And I agree. And I just think this is that game where you just want to pressure Mac Jones just constantly. You just want a rotating.
Well, it's Bailey Zappi is starting, ain't it?
Yeah. Sorry. You're right. You're right. Bailey Zappi. Even still with Bailey Zappi, right? Like you want to be firing. You just want to be firing. Or outside linebacker at them. You just want to absolutely make them, we want to make them see ghosts, right? And I think this is
and one thing that they need to do, I believe, and I thought they should have done it last week, is the Steelers soft zone concepts. And you know me, everybody knows how much I hate that soft zone. If the Steelers do that with a guy like Bailey Zappi, who was an accomplished collegiate quarterback, has had limited success in the NFL. You let a guy find his rhythm, and if he gets a 7-yard completion, an 8-yard completion, and you tackle the catch, he still got the completion, and he gets confidence. And then when we try to stick with only 4 pass rushers, and they don't get home, then we got guys out there. They're going to be a breakdown, as there was against the Cardinals multiple times. The problem I have is they need to send a 5th blitzer occasionally.
Yes.
At least give the opposition something to worry about. The problem is the guys they've been sending have been telegraphing it.
Yeah.
Like, we went from Mike Hilton, who was great at timing that and not making it obvious, to Sullivan, but Riley was good, but he's hurt.
Yeah,
but Riley was effective blitzer there off the slot. But they need to bring somebody, but they need to time it better, and that's something that I think people, they lost Butler, who was the pass rush specialist. Then you had Rhodes last year, and he helped with the pass rush. I don't know if Terrell Austin has a guy that he can. I don't think it's Austin. Austin's a secondary specialist. And I don't know if they really have a pass rush specialist now. They just rely on Watt and Highsmith to get home.
Yeah, 100%. And this is one of the this is a knock that I have on Austin. It's interesting when you talk about that soft zone. It just gives me flashbacks to the 49ers with Purdy and like CJ Stroud. Like it's just you look at those games and that's what it is. I felt I was really disappointed in how it looked with Pat Freiermuth last week versus what Pickett versus the week before against the Bengals. Mitch Trubisky has done well with tight ends at points of his career. Do you think we see more from Pat tonight in this game? Because like surely he has got to be a tool for victory in this game.
Well, we've talked before. The Steelers have 2 NFL caliber wide receivers in Johnson and Pickens. Now, Pickens, his trajectory looks like it's going up, and Johnson is flatlined, in my opinion.
Yeah, you and I could talk about Johnson for days.
And we know that they used to be 5 deep easy.
Yeah.
Well, so the strength of the offense is they've got a good surplus of running backs, and they got a great surplus of tight ends. So last week I was disappointed as well because we seen when Pickett can hit Freiermuth, especially in the middle of the field, it opened up everything for the offense. The first time they had over 400 yards in 4 years. Yeah. So I expected more against the Cardinals.
But Shannon, we shouldn't have because Pickett's not the guy.
Well, if you watch that, they come out and had success the first drive. Got down around the red zone, and that's where you really want to look for Freiermuth, and they didn't. And they ended up having to kick a field goal.
Yep.
It made no sense. Then the next 2 drives, you had a bad snap, you had a penalty and a sack. Then on the 4th drive, they got down, if on that drive, they hit Freiermuth twice in the middle of the field. And they got down to the 1-yard line, and they just starting to get rhythm, and Pickett gets hurt.
Yeah.
So now, can Mitch Trubisky utilize Freiermuth or Washington or Hayward in the middle of the field without throwing a cluster of interceptions? That's my concern.
And I don't see it because I just think back to that Jets game last year where he wanted to throw into the middle of the field, and I think back to the Ravens game, and then who did they play week 2 last year? He looked bad against the Bengals, but I think it was Cleveland where it was just like Pat couldn't do anything, and Pat was in this situation whereas if I go for the ball, and we saw this with Jets actually with the Pickett in the first interception, I think it was, but like Pat was in this position where it's like if I go for the ball, it's going to be a hard catch. I could tip it, it could be intercepted, or I'm going to fumble it, or I'm going to get the ball. Like something bad's going to happen. But if I don't catch it, then I'm not making any effort, and then it looks bad as well. And I want the team to go down the field. Like, so Pat's just put into this awful situation. I mean, I genuinely, I'm very, very much a Pat Freiermuth fan. Like I knew that he was going to be someone the Steelers were going to look at closely. If you remember back when and a lot of us would have preferred, a lot of people would have preferred Creed Humphrey. I totally get why. But if you remember that, but if you remember the BTSC Slack channel that we're all in, I said with like 10 picks to go before that pick, I'm like, they're picking Freiermuth. I put money on it. I won $150 because I put money on them to draft Pat Freiermuth in the 2nd round. Like I knew that was a thing. But I'm really worried that we're getting to the end of Pat's rookie deal and in the next season or so. And if I'm Pat Freiermuth, unless the Steelers are offering me crazy money, why am I going to hang out here with this quarterback play and the trajectory that the team's on right now? Like, brutally honest.
Oh, there's a lot hinging on these next few games. I haven't got to talk to you about it, but I wrote about it in an article this week. When I look, if I step back and I'm being honest, now, I've never been a Mason Rudolph fan.
Yep.
I'm a fan of the Steelers first.
Yep.
Like I said, I don't care who the quarterback is. People say, oh, you love Kenny Pickett. I do not care who the quarterback is. I want an NFL caliber offense. The Steelers haven't had one since 2018.
Correct.
So, but when I step back, now Pickett's out for maybe a month. This is not a short-term one-game gig. It's going to be extended. Look, I know what Mitch Trubisky is. I know his strengths and his weaknesses. Now, this offense needs somebody that can get the ball down the field to George Pickens when he gets one-on-one matchups. They need somebody that can drive the ball across the middle of the field to Freiermuth and these other tight ends and start to utilize the parts of the field that Matt Canada refused to. Then they need somebody who can work play action and has some pocket presence. Now, if I look at those three qualifications, I have to say Mason Rudolph. I mean, Mitch could have a very short leash. It might not even be all night tonight.
So, well, but this is what I was going to ask you is like, we're going to talk about Mason. Do we get there tonight? But I want to pull back one. You said it there where that this is a 4-game-ish starting gig, right? Yeah. And you just said they're short leash. It's hard when you've got new Invisalign retainers. And there's an ad for Invisalign, right? Just like TJ Watt has Invisalign, Matt has Invisalign. But I think that the thing that worries me is that it is a 4-game stint with Trubisky. The thing that I was literally going to ask you before we brought it up is how short is the leash? Because if the leash is long, that worries me when I hear comments like, we've not been aggressive enough, I'm going to fire it down the field. I'm thinking, not against the Belichick defense. You're a fool. You're a fool. Against Jabril Peppers and Duggar, who are both incredibly athletic, incredibly forceful, can play the strong safety or the free safety, but particularly Jabril Peppers. I mean, I wanted him with the Steelers. Like when he was traded from the Browns to the Giants, I just sat there and like, go out and get this guy. Like last year, I thought, go out with Terrell Edmonds, obviously not going to be retained. I'm like, go out and get that guy. Like $5 million, get that guy. Life will be great. Like I love that guy. So it worries me with Mitch Trubisky thinking he's got the 4-game stint. How long do you think the leash actually is? Because like I hear people out there saying, no, Mason Rudolph's never coming back. I'm more of a Mason fan than I am a Mitch fan, always have been. I've written articles back when I was BTSC about this. I've talked about the fact he never had a quarterback coach at the Steelers, which he should have had. He didn't. Their offense wasn't built for how he played coming out with an air raid offense, like all those things. But yeah, going back to the bigger, we can talk all we like about Mason Rudolph, but before that, he's got to take the field. So yeah, how long's this leash do you really think with Trubisky?
Well, that's just I can't imagine it's that long, because if the Steelers lose this game tonight, their playoff chances drop precipitously. I mean, it could be a huge drop because there's so many teams that are 7-5 right now, and they could easily go from being they're the 4th seed right now, I think, or 5th.
Fifth.
And they can drop out of the playoffs tonight.
Yeah.
Depending on what happened on the weekend and Monday. So, he needs to come out and play smart football. But if he comes out slinging it around and throws a couple of interceptions in the first half and they get down and the offense is not moving, it wouldn't shock me for them to give Mason Rudolph a chance, because, here's the thing. I've had people ask me, why didn't they let Mason have a chance when Mitch Trubisky come in against Jacksonville? And I'm like, he's the emergency number 3.
Yeah, he can't.
That guy cannot play.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless both your first and second guys are knocked out of the game. You can't just bring that third guy in anytime you want. Well, now he's number 2.
That's when you go to. I am being facetious here, and I am joking, but like that's when you say to Darnell, when you go to block, you just fall backwards into Trubisky.
I know what you. Hey, I've been there. Like, or at least go to the coach and say, "All right, next time, start limping. we got to get you out of there." But no, I think that this game is that important, and these next 4 games are that important that the leash should be small. It should be short.
Yeah. All right. So over and under is the leash 2 interceptions.
I just feel like if he's out there, he's the turnover waiting to happen. It wasn't his fault per se. it was a bad snap. He's very athletic. He could easily, Pickett picked up one earlier in the game that rolled to him.
Yeah. You know what we called that? Here's a new word for you. Here's a new word for you.
What?
In Australian cricket, which is obviously like cricket where baseball comes from, if a ball rolls along so if you go to a pitch, which is an overarm throw in cricket, if you do it and it rolls just along the floor, basically, like it doesn't go very far and just rolls on the floor, we call that a mully grubber. And if you Googled like mully grubber and cricket and exactly what that is, that's what that snap was. And so from now on, that's what I'm calling them. Like if those snaps hit the floor, that's a mully grubber. That's my new thing.
So we'll say if the Steelers centers, when they have one of their special snaps, we'll call them a mully grubber.
Yeah, that's it.
Did I say that right? Mully grubber?
Yeah, mully grubber. Yeah.
I like that. Thank you.
That's what it is. It's
a mully grubber.
Like it's a great word too, because you just sit there going, wow.
It is.
That's the thing. Talking positively before we close out this pregame show with the Global Perspective, it's a cool thing that we get to do on the Global Perspective because of Thursday Night Football. For the Steel fans out there, like it's not enjoyable. Like you said it just before, Trubisky, no matter how high or low you are on him, it does feel like it's a turnover waiting to happen.
Yep.
We've talked a lot with our heads on this show so far.
Yes.
Talking with your heart, how did the Steelers win this game tonight?
Well, I think that the defense needs to be the one forcing the turnovers instead of the Patriots defense forcing the turnovers. Lots of punts, lots of probably 3 and outs. In my heart, I want to believe that the Steelers can play more stand-up, stout defense and not so much soft zone. Yeah. My fear is the reality part of me wants to realize that we do that with everybody. We make even the Thompson kid for the Browns, we give them confidence because you give them open looks. There's times when our offense is out there, our quarterback has nobody to throw to.
Yep.
Because they're either all clumped together in one little spot or they've got tight coverage on them and they're not obviously open. Whereas the Steelers back off and say, here, take that 7 free yards and we're going to tackle the catch. I think the Steelers need to not give them that tonight because I think the defense can stop the run for the Patriots. Don't give them free yards and make them actually beat you. The Steelers have give up a lot of 3rd and long conversions this year.
Yep.
And it's almost always Levi Wallace. But we're at the point now they will not play rush and let him try to play corner. And they keep leaning on Wallace, and he keeps getting burned. So, in my heart, I want to believe that they can win and play clean football and, be stout on 3rd down. But until I see it, I can't believe it.
Seeing is believing. Most important player in this game outside of Mitch Trubisky?
I'm going to say Jaylen Warren.
Yeah. Well, you stole the guy I was going to say, but yeah.
Well, Warren is a guy that he can break tackles and he makes plays that sometimes the play wasn't blocked very well. But he'll just find a way to squiggle through, power through, and make a positive and get him in. A lot of times he'll get him in field goal range. And if Boswell makes his field goals, that could keep the Steelers in this game.
Well, as I've been saying all year on this channel, where there's a Warren, there's a way.
Yep, that's true.
So that
Mighty Mouse.
That's it. Well, he's like a cannonball. I played rugby for a lot of years with a guy that was about 5'5", 5'6", and he was the same thing, just this low center of gravity, and you couldn't tackle him because most people couldn't get low enough to tackle him, and he just used to barrel through, and he did the same thing. He just get between between people. I saw him run through a guy's legs right underneath the guy's legs once with the ball, just because he was small and it was a crazy thing. But no, look, Steel fans out there, it will be an interesting game tonight, as Shannon said, regardless of how high or low you are on this team, high or low you are on Mitch Trubisky, other players, how the Steelers are performing is a very important game for this Steelers team, because ultimately it is really important. It's an AFC matchup. It's a big one in terms of who's in the hunt come down the playoff stretch, particularly when you think about the Patriots and the division they're in. And, you've got Miami in there. The Bills are coming back. All those good things. The Jets are probably out of it, but there are a lot of people that will have played the Patriots and won that game. You need those tiebreakers, all those good things. So it will be very interesting to see. Well, we can only hope for a Steelers victory, and hopefully the coaching staff have got them where they needed to be. Hopefully, Mitch Trubisky proves a lot of both Shannon and I and much of the fan base wrong and throws 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. We can only pray for that, because it's not about who the quarterback is. It's about how the Steelers go. But I'd like to thank Shannon for joining us, as always, on the Steelers Global Perspective. This was episode 2 for you. And as always, go Steelers.